Welcome you all to another episode of Who Got the Keys? Well, we are
Unlocking doors to generational wealth.
representing, I'm your co-host, Donna Rogers, and this is,
$1 million Mac. Should I like how I changed that up for you?
no, it's a new name every episode.
Yeah, you got to keep switching it up on them. Keep them
No,
guessing.
no.
Got to keep them guessing.
What's on the birth certificate? And so we representing our legacy. We are the Rogers family, brother and sister. Together, we're bringing you just an abundance of information, keys of information, so you and your family can build your legacy as we continue to do so for the Rogers legacy. And so, Mac, what is the topic of today? What type of keys we dropping for the people?
Today we are dropping keys around the pros and the cons of entrepreneurship. And I really like this topic because all I knew about it was the pros when I started. Probably why I almost went out of business. Seriously. So we're going to be talking about the things, some of the reasons why people actually go into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is really, really heavy right now. A lot of people are opening up businesses, but a lot of people, we talked about this earlier, a lot of companies are actually closing the doors and walking away. So it's a lot of things that you can do wrong where you can get that red slip and say, hey, the bills ain't paid, the lights got to go off. You got to make those life decisions. So those are some of the keys today we're going to talk about. Pretty excited because I've been on both sides of the coin. I think you have too.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get started and talk about it, right?
All right, let's dive into this.
So first thing I want to know, you've been an entrepreneur before I've been an entrepreneur. Why entrepreneurship? And I want to say this too, right? So they don't know. Donna has a multitude of certifications and degrees, right? So actually, when I think about it, the degrees you have match up with mine. Mm-hmm. You went into HR just like I did, out of school. I went into HR. Probably, I think about it, almost following your path. And then
masters.
And from my understanding, you were really good at what you did.
Yes.
At your job. You had a really good job.
Yeah, majority of my employers before I went into entrepreneurship was the government, and government pays good money, good benefits. But my last job was a non-for-profit, and I must say that's why I learned most of my entrepreneurial skill sets was from the non-for-profit that I worked for last.
Okay, so with all of this corporate experience, you're moving up the ladder pretty quickly, trailblazing. Why did you become an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. So for me, I am very purpose driven, everything to me, I try to be intentional about. I try to figure out, hey, why was I created? What's my purpose in life? What am I passionate about? I try to be very intentional. And I do understand in life, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do just to get the bills paid, right? I've been blessed to be able to tap into what I'm truly passionate about. And for me, at my core, helping others, right? At my core, I'm very passionate about it. Even if I think it's something that I don't want to do, I find myself doing it and finding fulfillment with it, right? And so even from that, with serving and helping others, I found my passion is really education. And so I'm really good and well experienced with real estate. But real estate is still helping people. You're helping yourself, you're helping your family, then you're helping your community. But I love to educate people about whatever it is that I'm experienced about. What about you, Mac?
I want some Jordans. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not going to lie to you. So my first business actually wasn't the moving company. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. I played sports. My first business was I sold candy at school, right? So the basketball team had to fundraise and sell candy to get jerseys, et cetera, for the upcoming season. Mm-hmm. So I did that. They was making a lot of money. I said, well, damn, I can just do this. And I remember saying once the basketball season, we stopped fundraising, I kept fundraising, but it was for myself, right?
Oh, wow.
So at this time I started, we had 8 siblings. So we had things, but as a kid you wanted other things that everybody else had. And I went to Kenwood, which at the time was the fashion school. It
definitely was. Shout out to Kenwood, Broncos,
everybody
Chicago.
Else, they getting the ones and the Jordans.
That's true.
I'm getting the 2 for $89 Reeboks.
That's true.
The black and white one. Shout out to mom and dad. But I wanted some Jordans. So I started selling candy and I actually purchased my first pair of Jordans. And that was my first entrepreneur experience. Because I ended up getting put out of business, right?
Okay.
And but that kind of started my thirst for it and said, all right, cool. I think I could do this in the future, right? And I got put out of business because the school didn't implement the vending machines, and everybody can get to the vending machines for cheaper. They beat me out, yeah.
Competition.
So my first business failed, right? They tell you that your first business typically fails. So it's an interesting story. I'm still a little pissed.
It is. You know what's also, I don't want to say it's crazy because it's not crazy. I truly believe in life we get these little clues if you really, really pay attention.
Yeah.
Growing up, again, it's 8 of us. I'm the last of the top 4. He's at the beginning. He's towards the last 4 of the 8, the last 4, the half of the last 4 anyhow. Mm-hmm. And our grandmother, our dad's mom, Ali Mae, we used to have to go to what they called at the time. This is what they called the community. It was called Jewtown. And mom and pop shops would like set up these vendor tables like outside. And our grandma used to sell like Polar sauces and those little old shapely Coca-Cola bottles. And we used to have to go out there and help her. And then every summer, Dad used to make us do like snowball.
I was just about to bring that up.
He used to have us do that.
I don't remember getting paid for my snowball.
Well, I did. I did. But we had to sell like candy and stuff. And it was in front of his building, my parents' building that they own. And so I feel like even though I never said like I want to be an entrepreneur, but those were just little clues that I felt like was setting me up for entrepreneurship.
Got early exposure.
Exactly. Once again, yep. Shout out to the Rogers family.
Yeah, that's when the penny candy was around, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Snowballs, the pickles with the peppermints in them. It was very good, tasty. Yep.
Sounds like you ate your product.
I sure did.
But with that being said, so let's jump into just the different types of entrepreneurs, right? And that's something that we talked about before, and just outlining it. Most people don't know that there are just different entrepreneurs, right? Everybody thinks just entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be self-employed. So I'll dabble into it, right? Because we talked about this, and then once we talk about it, I want to ask you which one you are, right?
Okay, let's dive into it. Drop those keys for the people. What are different types of entrepreneurs?
The people out there that don't know, when it comes to entrepreneurship, there are typically 4 types of entrepreneurship that people fall into, right?
Okay.
You have number 1, the builder, right? These are the people who want to scale. They are the visionaries. They can kind of see where a business can go from day one before you even start on day one, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the builders. Those are people who typically are a little bit more organized. They understand processes and organization, right? Number 2, you have the opportunist. The opportunist is the person with the next best thing, one-hit wonders.
Okay.
These people, a good example of this is all those COVID businesses that popped up. People just started working in healthcare, making all this government money.
Good example.
Yeah, those are people who are opportunists. They ride the wave of whatever's going on at the time to make the most money.
Okay.
Right? Number 3, and I think a lot of people fall into this, is the specialist, right?
Okay.
These are the people who highly certified. I consider these people in healthcare, not healthcare, HVAC, plumbing. These people specialize in this one task, mechanics, things of this nature. Typically, they specialize in the area, and then at a point, they'll branch off to open up their own business. And last but not least, and this is something that people tend to see more often than not, is the innovator, the person who's tech savvy, right? Okay. These people come in and they try to break what's already fixed and break it down to the smallest increment and build it back up and make it streamlined by using technology to make it more efficient. These type of entrepreneurs are the type of people that we see in society on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Right? So, which one are you? Are you a combination of these 4 types of entrepreneurs? Are you one? And then I want to ask this too. Did you evolve from one type of entrepreneur to another one?
That's a good one.
As your life experiences hit you?
That's a good one. Because I was going to say, because of that, I find myself most connected with a builder.
Okay.
So, you think education, it's education. You think real estate, it's real estate. But I started off doing investing for myself, right, for a few years. And then I was an educator first. I became a adjunct business professor. Shout out to Chicago State University. And so after that, I said, well, let me help other people get into, invest in real estate. Then I did that for a few years, and I said, well, I want to be a manager. I want to manage other agents. And then I said, well, let me open up my other. Wow. So I'm always looking to try to learn as much as possible of what I'm passionate about in that season. And then at a certain point, I'm ready to scale out to the next big thing. next best thing. And so now it's like, well, and if you haven't heard, we're doing our Legacy Academy, which is a licensed real estate school. And so that's a way that I constantly try to scale and build on top of my area of expertise. And not saying that there's not always room to learn, but for me, I find that within like 3 years, it's always tend to be around 3 years, I'm looking to expand out and constantly grow. So I think a builder, though I can touch on the little other areas as well, but that's what I find myself most connected to. Mac, what about you? Which one?
Well, I'll say this before I say mine. So you mentioned something that I want to drop a key on. You said every 3 years, you typically are looking for the next challenge, right? And that's typical. Corporate America does the same thing. Corporate America typically forecasts or budgets out every 3 to 5 years because that's more so in your control. So
okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah, you're an
shout out to
entrepreneur.
corporate America.
So with me, I evolved over time. When I was younger, I was more energy, optimistic, working hard. I was more the innovator, tech savvy. Feel like I can streamline any process. Okay. But over time, as I got more knowledge and understood business more, I became more of a blend of being an innovator and a builder. I understand how to scale, why scaling is important, things of that nature. So now I'm in the phase of my life where if I can't scale, then the business is not, investment is not for me, right? But I have to understand with scaling that I have to implement some type of technology to scale it because I want to make as much money as possible, right? That's what we all here for. We got passion, but at the end of the day, passion don't pay the bills, right?
That's true.
You got to be able to make some coins to pay those bills because the lights get cut off, your spouse will leave you, your kids are going to look at you funny.
That's true. But I'm going to say this about passion. It does not necessarily pay the bills alone, but passion is what keeps you driven because entrepreneurship, you have to have passion to stay consistent with it, because there's highs and lows. And so I won't get into the pros and cons prematurely, but that passion piece is definitely necessary for entrepreneurship. But again, you can't just be passionate. Like my brother said, it doesn't pay the bills alone. You got to put the work into it. You got to put the hustle into it, the grind into it, and make it do what it do. So, yes.
So are you considered yourself to still be a builder today, or is that where you started, or...
No,
want to make sure we got that clarity.
I think just by nature, I'm a builder. That's the one that I connect with the most. And when I just kind of reflect over the years of how I've grown and what areas I've grown into, I definitely see the builder. And even when I do expand, let's say that it's something, you have thousands of real estate agents. I'm always just trying to look at a way in some form, shape, or fashion of being different, right? There's thousands of educators, but you have to find you have to find a niche. You have to find what works for you. I'm passionate about education. Not just, a regular home ownership class, which is very, very necessary, right? But I just like to take things to the next level when it comes to education. And so just creating a whole educational program, for our young people, particularly our Black people, Black community, only because there's a gap that exists when we talk about the rates of home ownership and all of that. Just putting together that curriculum, and I've written curriculum for so many other people. And so I'm always trying to take all of my gifts and skill sets to just see what next. How can I grow to be better? How can I grow to open up an additional stream of income and still stay within my passion?
So I think you got 10 plus years of being an entrepreneur. What's the real number? Because you started before I did. So you got to be at almost 15, right?
Well, I technically started in 2010. So we're at 2023.
13 years of entrepreneur.
Yes. And I would say I started off still working a 9 to 5. So, yeah.
So, all this experience, what are the benefits and pros of being an entrepreneur from the experience that you have?
I'm going to go back to passion. I'm about passion. So, just having the opportunity to truly pursue what you love on your terms to a degree, because you got to still stay within whatever the restrictions are within your industry, so you can avoid violations and fines and maintaining whatever licensees and different things like that. But generally speaking, it is a blessing just to operate fully what you're passionate about on your terms. Because you can take a job in something that you're passionate about, but you're still doing it on somebody else's terms. You're doing it on your terms, your way. You get to bring your innovation to the table and do it in a way that only you can make it do what it do. And so I think that that's like the main and number one plus of entrepreneurship.
So creativity is
just the freedom to be creative, because some places you work and you don't have that freedom to be creative. Is this is how you do it, and there's no room for you to grow.
That makes sense. I think time is what people typically look at, right? Okay. And I think that's the first thing they say, oh, I'm tired of working this 9 to 5.
Okay.
I want to get my time back. That's why we see so much work from home now, because people say, I want the work-life home balance, because it's all around time, right? So even with my experience, time is really the biggest pro of being an entrepreneur if it's done correctly, right? Which we'll dabble into that a little bit later, because it is a possibility that you can work 4 hours a week and still be very, very financially comfortable with your situation. So I think time is one of the ones that, I would stress is one of the biggest pros of being an entrepreneur, right? Not having to wake up at 6 o'clock to get to work at 9 o'clock and get off at 5 o'clock just to miss all your children's activities, or 6 o'clock. Some people have graveyard shifts, working overnight. A lot of those things disappear. So time is a big one. But what are some other ones that you have outside of passion and creativity?
But going back to time, I think we have spoken about in the past just the fact, and we are not putting down anyone who does a 9 to 5, because a 9 to 5 is very necessary and needed, right? But this is strictly for those who are thinking about entrepreneurship. And so for us, we just talked about the fact that, not having to be subjected to someone else telling you when you can go out of town, or how long you can go get lunch, or how long you can go take a break. If you work in these 8 or 7 hours and I get 30 minutes or 40 minutes and then you're late coming back, that just doesn't work for our personality type. And for most entrepreneurs, it does not.
You know what our mother says? All my kids want to be the boss. She say that all the time. But one thing I used to hate, and I'm just like you. We need 9 to 5 people. As entrepreneurs, we need them to work at our job.
Exactly.
Right? But the thing that I disliked the most was asking for PTO. Yeah. Asking to use my PTO that I earned. I just was like, why I gotta ask you to use my time? Yep. It didn't make sense to me, right? And then I didn't like that they would look at me a certain way if I wanted to use my benefits. Like, this is why I came to the job, because of the benefits, but y'all don't want me to use them. So time is definitely like, I enjoy having my time to spend with my kids and my family and vacation when I want to. So I'm glad you brought that corporate America piece up. So people work for corporate America. Keep working for corporate America. We need you.
Absolutely.
So, well, other than that, another thing I think besides time is just financial freedom, right? Financial freedom is another piece for why a lot of people that's why I wanted to entrepreneur. I wanted the Jordans, right? So that was my piece of financial freedom. You see kids at a young age saying, hey, I want a job. Why? They want financial freedom. So as adults, we do the same thing. So, working a job and seeing invoices, collecting checks, working as a waiter, you start seeing payments come in, $100, $200 meals, but I'm making $5, $6 an hour. Doesn't make sense to somebody like me saying, hey, how can I be on the other side of that transaction and make the most money? So when you are an entrepreneur, the revenue can come very fast if you know the proper steps and pricing model that you need to have in place to make this money, right? So with you being a realtor, you guys get some extremely fat checks, right? Closing day checks are very healthy. I
would say that, but just not to go too deep into that. We do a lot of work, and a lot of times as a realtor, the reality is you're not getting paid for 30 days, 45 days, sometimes 60 days, sometimes not at all, ladies and gentlemen. So again, make sure it's something that you're passionate about with that. But again, I think time is the biggest thing, because you can't take back time. And in life, generally, you don't get any control on how much time you have on this earth. When it's your time, it's your time. So you want to make the most of it. And being able to make the most of it, doing what you're passionate about, spending time with your family when you can, exploring this world, doing different things like that. Entrepreneurship gives you that opportunity to do it. But just know that you even have to work to get to that point. Because starting off in entrepreneurship, your time is spent building that business, and you have to have that passion, because sometimes you have to put in 12-hour days. Sometimes I may not get a day off for a whole week. But that's the beginning stages. That's the infancy stages of building up your business. But again, you're so passionate about it that it doesn't feel like work the same way that it doesn't feel like work the same way that it feels when you're working for someone else.
That's true.
You're looking
That's
at
true.
that clock. Ain't no clock to look at. This is your life.
You don't want to look at the clock.
Right.
Look up, it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's true. And so we had to work our way to be able to afford the luxuries of entrepreneurship. But then again, we're builders. So then when you get to that building stage, you're trying to expand and scale up again, you may have to clock in, do some extra hours to get that new product or service where you need it to be. But definitely the time and the freedom to do, what you're passionate about on your terms.
So do you enjoy, one of the things with entrepreneurship, some people, one of the pros is that they can run the show. True. I don't have to listen to nobody tell me how to do things. True. I've seen and heard conversations, right? I wasn't involved in these, of people at jobs saying this company, the way that they do things is so inefficient, it's stupid. Mm-hmm. If I ran the company, I'd do things X, Y, and Z way, right? So do you enjoy being the boss? That's one of the pros, right? Of being the boss of your own facility, company, etc.
It's a plus of being the boss if you know how to be an effective boss.
Okay.
So, I teach the young people there's a difference between like a boss and a leader. Catch that key. Because, you could be a boss, but again, you telling everybody what to do. Your morale is down. There's no organization. So, you the boss. You got that title. You got that Instagram post. I'm the boss. All these different things, but you're not making no impact. You underwater. You can't keep people in. They don't want to be a part of your team. So I think entrepreneurship should be looked at more so the opportunity to be a leader. And when I think about, leadership is, to me, I'm a steward of other people's gifts, and I'm putting them pieces of the puzzle of the bigger vision and mission that we have of where you are most effective so we can synergize to make the biggest impact for this company. And so entrepreneurship allows you the opportunity to use your passion, use your creativity to lead other people into something that that you specialize in, that you enjoy doing. I think that's the better word of being your own boss is being a leader, because I feel like being a boss sometimes is more so just about you. And being a leader is more so about the team.
One of the things I really enjoy when I have my companies is being able to hire people, right? Yes. Hire people from backgrounds that I've come from, or friends in areas that are underprivileged areas, and give these people jobs and to offer somebody a job and to see the glow.
Yeah.
I've had people say, thank you so much. I really needed this and they was in a hard situation. I need some money. That is one of the benefits, and that's the goodwill. Goodwill and being able to effectively implement change is one of the biggest pros of entrepreneurship that nobody talks about, right? But it's really a good feeling to hire somebody, give them a job, and really affect their well-being and their family's well-being. If you get a real job, it should affect the entire family, right? True. If they have a family, it should affect their family, right? So we've talked about a lot of good things.
Let me say this. I think you did an excellent job. Malcolm had a moving company for how many years?
9 years.
9 years, you all. He almost met that 10-year mark. And he hires so many people that had, certain backgrounds that may have had difficulty finding employment other places. And so he definitely made an impact in helping to boost the confidence, especially of our men, in other places, other places they went to where they could not find employment to feed their families. And so I commend you for being a leader and help making a difference in what you were passionate about for that season of your life with your moving company.
That is the nicest thing my sister
and
ever said.
And that's what it's all about.
We got to do podcasts more often. Hey, if I'm going to get this type of glamour and glory, then hey, let's do a podcast every second of the day.
So that's a good one.
I really like that. So we talked about all these glamorous things, but everything that glitters is not gold, right? Everything that glitters is not gold. I'm going to steal one of Donna's slogans that she says on a lot of life be lifing when you're an entrepreneur, right? It be life be life, business be moving, and your pockets don't be moving in business, right? So what are these negative things that people really need to know about entrepreneurship? Because it is not all roses and flowers, right?
I think the changes, and I'm trying to figure out the right word for it, but this is what I want to say. When you work for someone else, you getting that check on the 1st of the 15th at every 2 months. When you're an entrepreneur, you got to look at the industry you're in. First of all, you got to see what's going on with the economy, because you can have some high highs and some low lows. And so it's different. You may not be getting paid consistently like that. You may have some seasons where it's like hot, and then you got some seasons where it's slow. And when you work for somebody else, it doesn't matter. You get paid what you get paid.
Yep.
When you're an entrepreneur, no, you gotta follow what's going on in that industry. But guess who gotta get paid? Your staff, your team. Yep. So I don't really know if there's one word for that, but that's the.
If you don't adapt, then your business dies. Right? If you don't adapt, you die. That's the way. And the professional way to say it is like this: if your business fails to make a business pivot,
that's true.
Then you lose, right?
That's true.
You lose. Being in business is a game. And if you don't know all the rules to the game, we play Monopoly. People don't know how to play Monopoly or can't beat me in Monopoly because they don't read the rules. I read the rules.
Anyway, ask his kids. He cheats in the game. Anyway. But, I guess that goes back to say, you just got to be careful, because entrepreneurship, there's financial risks that you do not have to take when you're working for someone else.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is people, you get this financial freedom, you get your time back. It takes you a couple years to get your time back. Let's just be honest, man. Transparently, we joke, and I think we're pretty successful as entrepreneurs over the years, right?
Right.
But when I first started off my business, I still can remember to this day being up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm blinking. I'm still working, right? Mm-hmm. In your passion, you working. Hours don't matter.
That is
I'm not clocking the clock. I'm up, and I'm blinking, and my eyes are hurting. Every time I blink, it's like a needle is in my eye because I'm working too much screen time for the day. And instead of going to sleep, I'm still working, right? And you have to put in. There is no 40 hours. That's gone when you're an entrepreneur. You might be working 100, 150 hours more. You're not getting paid for it.
Based off the need of your business.
You're not getting paid for it. When you're an entrepreneur, the negative about being an entrepreneur is that when you start your business, you are the business. Mm-hmm. Every role, accounting, accounts payable, sales, operations.
That's true.
You done picked up 7 jobs. You go apply for Amazon paycheck. Right now, you working at Amazon. You decide to be an entrepreneur, you done picked up 7 jobs.
That's true.
So
that's true.
That's one of the most difficult things that they don't talk about. Being an entrepreneur, that first 1 or 2 year period, because that's when most businesses fail. Between the first, 0 to 24 months, they typically go out of business because they say, well, damn, I didn't know I was getting into all this.
Right. They don't
make it look easy on social media.
Exactly.
It's nowhere near that. But time, you have to sacrifice a lot of time. And for people who have families and kids and wives and engaged, it's very difficult for you guys to sacrifice a lot of time because you start to feel bad, not spending time with your family and kids. I know personally, you start trying to be an entrepreneur.
Malcolm is married with children that I love as my own. So I think the balance.
I got children today. The other day I have 5,000 kids.
He only has 4, ladies and gentlemen. But so he knows more about that balance. But I don't know if you remember a time with me, I would be so busy with work. I rarely had time for a phone conversation. It was just a nonstop.
I remember.
My mind couldn't even settle down. I was dealing with anxiety at that point because it was just nonstop. And as Malcolm said, at a certain point, that's the reality. So you get hired for someone else, you work that one job. Yeah, they may throw in a little extra task here and there from somebody else that you're saying you don't get paid for. But in entrepreneurship, you're going to do a lot that you haven't gotten paid for. And that's very true. But what I learned in the early stages, this is what sometimes differentiate, one entrepreneur, one businessman or woman from another. That's where you learn the details. Yeah. That's where you learn really how to hire the right people because you did the job before. That's where you learn if I had to get rid of somebody, we still gonna flow because I already know how to get this thing done. And so there are a lot of lessons to be learned in the beginning stages of entrepreneurship. One of the quotes that I love, one of the Bible scriptures is, do not despise the days of small beginnings, because in the small beginnings that's where you learn the details, and the details will make you different than your competition.
You told me that years ago and it stuck with me, and I use it all the time, and I say it to people and they think I'm so intelligent. So thank you.
Shout out to Jesus. It's in the Bible.
But I want to piggyback off something you said, because it's something that I say to people. that I want to drop a nugget. The dollars are in the details, right? You have to be very detailed when you're an entrepreneur. They won't tell you that, but in order to put in processes and systems, you have to be a stickler for how things are happening and stick to those processes. But if those processes are out of whack, then one of the things that really you take a hit on is money.
That's true.
Right? So money is the next negative thing that you really get hit on, right? You need money to start the business, which most people don't have enough money to start the business. You need money to operate the business. Working capital is the term.
You got bills to pay.
You got bills to pay. If you don't have enough working capital, you're going to go out of business. And then you need to have enough money to pay yourself. So most people, from my experience, I've been a mentor, a consultant. What happens is they under budget for how much money they need as far as equipment, overhead, things of that nature to start the business. They don't have enough money. They come in and say, man, my friend said I can make this money. My job is doing it the stupid way. I could do it more efficiently, but you don't realize how much capital you need to start, right? And I'm going to drop a nugget here.
We dropping keys. We're not dropping nuggets. We dropping
keys, right? We dropping keys. When you operate a business or you want to start a business as an entrepreneur, you need to have about 4 to 6 months of working capital reserve. Overhead. One of the things I learned as being an entrepreneur is that if your business isn't financially healthy, then you can't make the best decisions for your business, right?
That's true.
And the reason why is because now you're trying to get every dollar.
That's true.
But when the money is flowing and then you got this reserve, you know that at a certain point, hey, if I get down to my 4 to 6 month reserve, I need to shut the doors. Otherwise, you tied to the business. Oh, I gotta make this money to pay my mortgage. Make this money to pay.
It's like you robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Exactly.
So you basically put the restrictions back on yourself. You can't freely operate or make the best business decision. You got to make the best decision to pay the bills right now. And so you just have to be financially savvy. Go back to our session that we talked on getting your finances in order. You have to be financially savvy, and how you do your finances personally will spill over. How you do your finances personally will spill over into how you do your finances in your business. Yep. And you may not have the money to hire someone in that department just yet. And we advise that you learn it yourself. That way you can avoid somebody ripping you off or putting papers in front of you and you have no idea what it means.
Yeah, you have to, because that money piece is tied to the next point, right? Mm-hmm. The liability.
Yeah.
The liability. It's so much liability. The lights, the bills, the employees you talked about, the insurance. You hire an employee and you hire a bad employee and they get your company out of compliance.
Yeah.
They go back home and they can go to sleep at night. Now you up all night trying to figure out how to get out of this insurance claim, how to keep your license, your certification getting dropped. It's so much liability, it becomes stressful.
It is. It is. That liability is big. As a managing broker, you have agents that work up under you. You bring in new agents, and you have to be mindful who you bring to your team. You can't get caught up in numbers and say, oh, I got this many people and I got that. No, you want the best people. You want to focus more on the quality more than the quantity, because if you focus just more on the number of people that you have on your team just for bragging rights and they're not people of quality, then you playing with your liability. You playing with your license. You playing with people who don't care about your brand or different things like that. And so again, as Max said, that liability piece is big. So you're covering your license, but then you have to watch everybody else because you're liable for them.
Yeah.
You're liable. If there's a complaint or something, they're not just coming to you, to your agent. They're coming to that managing broker as well to make sure that you taught that person and you gave them the keys, the skill sets, and everything to know that they should have done something different to avoid that violation. And so that liability is just like you being a parent in your own household. You're like a parent of that company. You're responsible. You're the adult.
Analogy.
Yes, you are the adult, so you're responsible. Again, you go to corporate America or whatever you work, a non-for-profit, whatever the case may be, you don't have that liability. You just have that one job. You do your job. You keep it moving. You go home. You clock out. Not the case as an entrepreneur.
So what would you say is the biggest liability that people face in every business? Every industry is slightly different. Yeah. But it's one thing or maybe two things that is the biggest liability that they don't talk about that every business faces. What do you think that is?
I would say in regards to liability, I would say with money.
Money, right? And that rolls over to taxes. Tax.
I wasn't expecting
you got to pay Uncle Sam. They don't tell you that. It's your job, they take all the taxes out and they pay it on your behalf. Tax time, people look forward to refunds. Entrepreneurs, typically don't look forward to refund checks,
I
to be
had to
honest
learn
with you.
the hard
So
way.
when it comes to taxes, it's a couple different. So most people just file tax at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's employer taxes and it's employee taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And most entrepreneurs end up with tax fraud, tax evasion, because they're not paying the employee portion of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of it myself at one point, but nobody told me.
I was going to say that it's almost as if you have to stumble upon that to figure it out. And then you have to change your systems and your processes again.
Change
So
the
you
pricing.
Exactly. And so that's a big piece. And so that's why you want an accountant, you want a certified accountant or a tax agent that's really savvy at what they do, but also somebody who is going to advise you. You know, I've been with accountants where I only hear from them when it's time to file my taxes. I can't get in touch with them otherwise.
That's a hustler.
Yeah, you want someone who is available throughout the year, and they may have, you know, a price they're going to charge you for that, which is absolutely fine. It's worth it. It will save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, just to be able to get that financial coach all the way throughout the year so you can make the necessary decisions that's best for your company. See, that's that parent again.
I agree with that. Hey, get you a good CPA now.
That explains and educates you.
Get you a good CPA who is educated, and that not a black and white CPA, and I mean, but somebody who just reads the rules and then they read them to you based on their own interpretation.
Exactly.
Get somebody who understands the tax law to be able to advise you, and you bring that person on. They're basically a part of your team. Otherwise, you're gonna be in a shit of trouble. They're gonna be garnishing your account, right? You know,
that's true, and we've been there.
We talked about
transparent with you all. We
talked about that. IRS, and I'll transparent. IRS has garnished my account before from not paying them when I was supposed to pay them. They've garnished my wife's account or put holes on the account before. So you learn the hard way when you don't have to learn. Podcasts like this, these are why we dropping these type of keys. So very excited about just keys that we keep. I wish we had this podcast when I was starting my business.
Yeah.
I would be so much further along.
Yeah. But then we wouldn't be here on the mic.
That's true.
So
that's true.
It's more blessed to give it than it is receive it. So we're going to be the givers of giving away these keys. But entrepreneurship it's a beautiful thing, but you want to be careful. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you're ready. Just all of these different things, because it's pros and cons, just like it is to anything else. So you need to do a proper assessment.
Yeah. So I think we've given them enough keys for the episode today. I don't want to have information overload. We got so much more information to drop. You guys continue to stay tuned. Subscribe if you're on any of these type of channels that we're on. And Donna, what else do you got for us?
Well, I want to encourage you. If you feel like entrepreneurship is for you, we believe in you. You can do this. There's hundreds of thousands of millions of other people who have. And so you can do this. And so just make sure you do your homework. You sit down and become a student of the industry. No, you're not going to learn everything all at once. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. Entrepreneurs take risks all the time, but you do the assessments so you can reduce the risk as much as possible. But we believe that you can do it. So we encourage you, start that business, whatever the case may be, get your team together and make it do it.
Hey, I want to make one more comment before Donna wraps this up, right? Entrepreneurship. We encourage you to be entrepreneurs, right? I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
That's true.
Do not let anybody fool you into being an entrepreneur. You were the employee of the month last month. You need to try to get the employee of the month the next month. It's not for everybody.
That's true.
It's a joke, but it's serious. It's not for everybody, right? With that being said, Donna, I'll pass it back to you.
If you are the employee of the month, do your thing. But we just want to thank you for another episode of Who Got the Keys. And we have to give a shout out to our dad, John Rogers, because in his honor, we have the John P. Rogers Real Estate Scholarship. And so you are a minority. And if you have a GED or a high school diploma, you're looking to become a professional in the real estate industry. It was something that our dad was very passionate about. And so that's why that's the industry that we chosen. And he encouraged us to go into the industry. And so check that information out on whogotthekeys.com or Our Legacy Academy. .com for more information. Yes, so you can apply. And then don't forget, we are authors. We're educators. And so we have it in writing. Check out our books. My book is called Who Got the Keys? Building Generational Wealth Through Real Estate. And Mac, tell the people about your book.
Hey, I actually got my book today out here, which is called The Foolish Entrepreneur. Found on all outlets. So if you're looking for some real nuggets, right? Nuggets out there from ground level up, not this high level. They just give you high level information. No, we're going to take you from the roots to the leaves. Foolish Entrepreneur. Go ahead and get that copy.
Yes. And so thank you again for joining us. We look forward to dropping more keys to our next episode of Who Got the Keys? Who Got the Keys? Who Got the Keys? Hey.
See y'all next time. Peace.